So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Ben Stein. I work at SMBX. I lead our business development team and have had the pleasure of working with the two fine folks you see on the other side of the screen who will introduce themselves shortly. At SMBX, our goal is to make small business investing easy. So any questions you have about SMBX, our agenda for today is going to be pretty straightforward. I'm going to talk for like maybe 10 minutes or so about SMBX, explain to you all how it works, what our mission is, and a few other little things like that. And then the bulk of the time is going to be Jule's Foods chatting about their business and letting you guys know kind of what's up and, what they've done in 2020, what they've are doing in 2021, and then what they're going to do in 2022 and beyond for the rest of the year. So with that, let me share my screen quickly. And can you guys see this all right? Everybody?
I can see it, yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit about SMBX. SMBX came out of this idea that it is as easy to buy a share of Starbucks on apps like Robinhood and Square Cash and Public as it is to buy a venti mocha, right? And most folks actually probably know what a share of Starbucks is, but don't know what a venti mocha is. I don't even know what size a venti is. I'm not a Starbucks person myself. But what we do know is I think that more and more people want to make decisions about how they invest. They want power over their money. They want to choose where that money goes towards and what type of world it creates. But we're kind of locked into this world of it's really hard to invest in vegan food companies, in companies like Jule's Foods that are growing and expanding in your local, communities, whether you define that as regional, right, demographically, or something else. So what we really asked is, how can we build an investment experience to connect small business owners to investors that provides them the same experience or a better experience than investing in the stock market in a way that is secure, is safe, right? But provides returns with liquidity and regularly. So as we were going through this phase of creating SMBX, we knew that there were some problems in investing on the equity side of a business, which SMBX is not. So this is what SMBX is not, which is when you buy into a small business or you invest into a startup on the equity side, you have to wait years and years and years, right, for that money to turn into something. You don't know how much that money is going to turn into, right? It could be the same amount that you put in. It could be multiples more. It could be less. And so that combination of kind of having to wait for a really long time and not knowing what you're going to get makes it feel like it's more of a lottery ticket to invest, right? You can't make a retirement plan off of that. You can't forecast that. You can't plan around it. Add on top of that, that business owners more often than not don't want to give away a portion of their business to investors. And you have this kind of ecosystem that's building that restricts access to capital. So what we did at SMBX was we looked at how lending was happening today. And we know that folks like the ones on the call, folks like you and me, we keep our money through deposits in a bank account, right? In a savings or a checking account. The banks lend that out to small businesses like Jule's Foods. Jule's Foods in a normal situation, right, would pay that loan back, principal plus interest to the bank, right? And the bank would keep the interest. And then there's probably like another little dotted line where the bank gives you, the interest on your checking or savings account. And it's like, 1 cent or whatever. But we don't include that line because they don't really give us anything. So what we did at SMBX was, what if we take this idea of investing on the debt side, right? Of going back to the originals of lending, which was I give you $10, you give me $12 back, and then I give you 12, and then you give me 15, and then I give you 15 and 20, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what if we built a world where we could directly connect members of the community to invest in small businesses through what we call small business bonds. And then the small business pays that bond back directly to the community with interest, the same way they would a bank, except instead of the bank earning the interest rate, members of the community do. And that's how SMBX works. The idea is you invest into Jule's Foods, and then they will pay you back monthly over 60 months, which we'll talk about in a bit. And you'll get your principal, whatever you put in, plus a little bit more on top. So I'm going to give you guys a quick walkthrough here of Jule's Foods. So here on the right, you'll see details about the raise. If you were to scroll down in our app, this is also available on our website. We've got some sophisticated and unsophisticated investor materials we've prepared for you. So you can see kind of use of funds here. The bond prospectus is there. That is like a 34-page document that outlines all of the details about the offering. If you're not into like looking into that super sophisticated document, you can look at what we call the bond prospectus, which is like a 2-page summary of it. Gives you some highlights of Jule's Foods. And then if you really want to dig in and look at the balance sheet and the profit and loss and do your own due diligence on your own to establish kind of your decision whether or not to invest, you'll see that issuer financial information available. And that will take you to the SEC's website, which is where we're registering these bonds. And you can access the financials of Jule's Foods there. If you press that button at the bottom, buy bonds, it'll take you to a calculator that looks like this. You can type in any number that you want into that, where that $1,000 is, and in $10 increments. And it'll calculate for you what your investment is expected to return, assuming, and I have to say this, and Jule's Foods will tell you about this in a sec, assuming that they can support their debt, right? So there are no guarantees when you invest on SMBX. Just like any investing, there's risk involved. That said, I think after talking to Jule's Foods, you'll feel pretty good about the risk for this opportunity itself. But for this calculator, if you look at that $1,000, there's 7.5% interest that's amortized monthly. So you put in 1,000, you'd get 1,202 back and change, right? Which would equate to your $1,000 principal return plus $200 of interest, right? Which would look like a monthly payment of about $20.04 per month. If we go back here, you'll see over 60 months. So you'd get about 60 payments. You would get exactly 60 payments of $20.04 for the duration of this bond in particular. 2 other quick things to point out. On the bottom of our app and then also on our website, you'll see one of the sections is called Portfolio. This is where you can view your investments. And I just like to point this out. So this is somebody who really is invested. She happens to be my girlfriend, and I got her permission to be able to share this information with you. But you can see here that she's invested, you know, a little over $2,500. She's made $225 worth of earnings so far off of that investment. And then in the bottom of that history, you can see kind of an example of the payments coming in. So at the very bottom, you see that Dilla bond buy order. So she had bought $300 worth of bonds from this place called Quesadilla Gorilla. And then you see kind of the different types of monthly payments that she's receiving from other bonds. So she has a California Draft Tech bond in there that she's gotten, you know, 6 out of 36 payments. There's a Livy and Luca bond, 2 of them actually, and a Black Hammer Brewing bond, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just to show you guys this really works. We'll track your monthly payments for you, and it all comes through the SMBX app. And then as long as you have $10 or more in your SMBX account, you can always withdraw those funds to your bank account, or you can reinvest them into other businesses as well. Maybe we have some other vegan food businesses come on, or other folks local to you. You never know what's in store. That is it for me. So with that, I will turn over the tables to the couple of the hour, if you will. And Jule's Foods, why don't you guys take it away?
Go ahead.
Okay, so a lot of you know my story, the story of Jule's Foods, but we'll start there. And but we're going to tell it anyway for the people who don't. So we started Jule's Foods in 2000, well, technically 2018, because I had a very serious health problem. I got colorectal cancer and was very sick. And after that all happened, I decided to go vegan for my health primarily. We are cooks. He's a cook. I'm not a cook. But we're food people, and we wanted to keep eating well. And one thing that we really missed was cheese. So we started playing around with it, and we finally came up with what is now our primary product, which is our cashew brie. And after a lot of testing and things like that, we came to market with it. Those of you who knew us from Davis, that's where we started out, selling to our local co-op, and we've grown from there. So that's sort of the nutshell of Jule's Foods. We moved to Carlsbad, where we are located now, in 2019. Yeah.
18, 19. I don't know.
And so we're in Southern California now, which we absolutely love the beach life. And we've had a booming success. 2019 was sort of the first year we really fully took on only doing this as our job. And then starting in 2020, it just has grown like gangbusters.
Yeah, we've added direct to customer, we've ramped up our wholesale. Just all of it has gone more than we probably expected, for sure, even with the pandemic.
Yeah,
happening.
even with COVID. We were just reminiscing. This has been a year now that we've had and been in the pandemic, and about a year ago to the date, we walked down to the beach and we said, well, we don't know if this is the end or what. And I don't know whose parents we're going to move in with if this goes bad, but we'll figure it out. And, you know, luckily we did have March was hard last March, but this March is so far turning out to be really, really good. And we were able to position ourselves primarily in grocery stores, which has helped us immensely, especially during the pandemic. And the direct customer has been very, very good as well.
Yeah, I think we should open it up to the questions.
I'll ask the first question, which is,
Okay.
You guys talk maybe a little bit about what this money is going to be used towards, right? You talked a little bit about that. I know it's detailed and people can go read it, but I think it'd be great to kind of hear from you all in terms of what's the capital going towards?
Right. So, so I would say that 2019 was our year. 2019 and 2020 were the years that we wanted to really prove that this business was viable. And we were able to do that from taking our business to a loss to doing over, just about 200K in sales, which is a huge improvement, obviously. And we're really excited about that. So the primary thing is we need to scale up. We need to purchase equipment. Mm-hmm. We need an aging room. We need a bigger mixer to blend those beautiful cashews. And
yeah, so basically we have the first concept, which is basically, we'll call it like size A. We have a machine that could puree a certain amount of cheese. We have a certain amount of aging space for the cheese we form. And basically we need to move to, production space B, which could age, 15,000 cheeses at a time instead of, 1,000. Yeah. Which is, we make basically just under 1,000 a week right now, and we have zero extra space for that. So basically we're looking to just supersize everything so that we could puree, a couple 100 pounds at a time versus 50 pounds at a time. And we form every cheese by hand right now. So we're going to invest in a machine to fill the ring molds instead of Stefan piping every single ring mold, 1,000 a week. So basically we're looking to go from, 1,000 a week to being able to make 5,000 a week or 10,000 a week. That's, 5 years is 10,000 a week, not, 2021, but maybe.
Right. I think somebody asked how long will it take to scale it? And what we're looking at this point is once we can move into a space, then we can start scaling it almost immediately. It takes 2 weeks to produce a brie. So, really you're only looking at once the construction is done. And that's always just a question mark, depending on the space and depending on the different factors involved in that. Once we're in the space, we could be up and running within a couple of weeks to a month.
Yeah. At least
so-
a month. It with them aging for 2 weeks, it takes a cycle for us to ramp up and start setting par levels. It's not like we could just work all night and make a whole bunch. It's, they still have to sit around for 2 weeks aging. So
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. Let's dive in because there's a bunch of questions kind of coming through and I want to spend most of the time answering that stuff to folks.
Yeah.
So let's start off. The first one here is there any way to invest in equity?
So one of the reasons that we decided to go with SMBX is that we wanted to keep our equity as long as we could. In the consumer product goods, there will be a point when we will have to take on investors because it's just simply very expensive to scale nationwide. I think I've heard it's about $1 million to scale up to go nationwide. So this is kind of what I would say, our attempt at a seed round on our own.
Mhm.
And so that's something that we would be looking at in the future. I think that we wanted to be able to keep as much as our company and walk in with as much flexibility as we could to a negotiation like that. So
Cool.
In the future, yes.
In the future, yes. Today, not quite yet.
Not quite yet.
Cool. Let's hear a little bit about your guys' backgrounds. And can you talk a little bit about how those connect to what you're doing today?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's such a big answer. My background is the culinary side. Went to culinary school straight out of high school. Spent my career pretty much in San Francisco, LA, and Seattle in different hotels and restaurants. Predominantly fine dining. Julie and I met at a restaurant in Los Angeles.
Love that.
So I would say our background is restaurant and hospitality, and making cheese is no different really than making a plate of food every single night, 6 nights a week. It requires the same organization skills, attention to detail, dedication, and passion. So I think we pull all of that into making our cheese.
Right. And I was in the management side of restaurants before we opened our own business. So managing people, managing finances, organizing, those are the basis. And then we had our own business, another business before this, a catering business. So I was running the financial side of that. And although we do obviously lean on our accountant and our CPA and professionals as well, we do have an understanding of all of these concepts, and so we're not just walking in blind. I think that the real skill set that we have is, and specifically Stefan, is looking at something and being able to scale it. With catering, with food, when you're talking about making a plate of food for 4 people, then you have to scale that to 300. This is kind of similar in that way. You have to understand what that means and what it takes, and the skills to organize that. So
cool. Great answer. This is a fun one. What other cheese and/or products do you have in mind for the next year or so coming out from Dolores?
So
is it super secret? That's
no, there's no secrets. So on the cheese side, we're not 100% sure. It'll probably for sure be another type of brie. It's
Okay.
really hard to do a non-brie because there's so much of the brie bacteria in our environment that if we try to make another non-brie, inevitably brie will grow on that cheese.
right.
But I would say one of the things we really want to do and expand is working with the co-packer on our artichoke spinach dip and trying to launch those products with a little bit more shelf stable longevity, rather than right now we don't have the space or the capacity to do that. So it might be fringe products like maybe a dip, another dressing, something like that.
Yeah, we also feel like we've established ourselves as a company that does kind of the gourmet side of vegan cheese, and we kind of want to stick with that. We think we understand how to make cheese taste good with using different enzymes and bacteria, and that's something that does excite us. I've always had my heart set on a blue cheese. Haven't had any time to work on that, but it's something that is near and dear to my personal heart.
Wow. You're dreaming about, if you will.
Yes.
Cool. This one is more SMBX focused, so I'll take this, which is who sends out 1099s on the earnings, and that will be SMBX. So SMBX will send you and take care of all of the tax documentation. We send that through at the end of the year. And it's taxed as interest, so ordinary income, whatever tax bracket you fall into. We're working on some other solutions on the SMBX side to enable, 401k investments and stuff like that, but that's not going to be available for probably towards the end of this year. Going back to you, can you talk a little bit about what's your mix between grocery stores and direct to consumer? And are you guys distributing locally? I know you guys aren't national yet. So how do you guys see those things evolving as you think about going from, you were saying like 1,000 a week to 15,000 a week? Is that going to be more local distribution, direct to consumer, grocery? Walk us through a little bit of that.
Yeah. Right now, we are primarily wholesale is what I think it's probably 90% wholesale and 10% direct to customer. Yeah. We are excited to grow the direct customer, but I know that a lot of people are very interested in having it into their local stores. So part of our goal is to get a distributor and being able to grow that regionally. So we would grow more in the Southern California, going up Northern California, Oregon, Seattle, and then kind of head east from there. That's mostly just due to being able to have us grow in a way that we can accommodate that growth. I know a lot of like the Costco's are regional. A lot of the different grocery store chains will let you do that. So it's something that we are hoping to be able to do.
Follow-up question there on the direct to consumer side, which is, do you guys have a sense of what your direct to consumer LTV is? Or maybe like, are you seeing a lot of repeat purchases from folks on the direct to consumer side? Is that more new folks? Tell us a little bit more about that.
I couldn't tell you the exact numbers, but I do know we have a lot of repeat customers, people who will order every other week or monthly. We keep seeing the same names, and thank you so much. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, and as far as like the direct the customer goes, we've really put minimal amount of energy into it, and that comes back to like how much space we have. So I know that it's a big priority for me to really kind of not double down, but we really want to diversify between the wholesale and a direct to customer. And as soon as we have the space to do that, where, the last thing we want to do is like all of a sudden double our direct to customer currently, because that would be a big problem. We wouldn't have enough cheese for everybody. But we really feel like there's a huge opportunity there for us once we can invest the time in targeting ads and making more content and working with somebody to help us maximize our outreach on that.
Cool. Awesome. One more kind of question here. What is the average time a cheese sits on one of your shelves after it's ready to sell?
On
the
our
grocery
shelves or the
shelf?
grocery store shelves?
Maybe let's answer both. Why not? If you got it.
Well, this is pretty
So,
easy.
yeah.
We are out of cheese. We ship on Monday. So on Monday, we have a very little inventory.
Yep.
So we, we have we're trying to build to a small amount of inventory, but we really prefer to have new cheese being wrapped and shipped. And then I would say that,
So I would say the longest it sits is maybe 5 days in our refrigerator.
yeah,
That's wrapped. And so, and that's, usually like Wednesday to Monday or something like that. And then usually it all ships out on Monday. And then we're wrapping new cheese to get it out to our local people Fridays. And then we start the process again.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. Let me see, which one do I want to ask next? We'll just keep going down the line. What is the ultimate goal of the company? Are you guys looking for nationwide distribution in stores, expanding your product line? Talk to us a little bit about, the end goal for what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, that's a great question, because I was actually thinking about it today. Yeah, we definitely want to continue to expand our product line. I think I'm totally always thinking about ideas, and I'm antsy about coming up with ideas. It's just, and maybe it's the chef in me. And then as far as the company goes, I think that for Julie and I, it's really important to grow this company to a size that we can be engaged in mainstream big distribution in big stores, because we want to make a big disruption and impact on, essentially the dairy industry, and give the dairy industry a run for their money. And the only way to do that is for us to be a big company, and we want to influence the market, and we want to be able to take care of our people, our investors, and the people who eat our cheese.
Yeah, I mean, and that's part of the timing of this is, we have been, people have been reaching out to us.
Just tell them.
Yeah, Costco has been reaching out, Trader Joe's, and it's very hard and frustrating to say we can't sell you cheese because we don't have it to sell you.
Or even have the conversation, because
Right.
there's nothing we can do.
So yeah, the good news is, it's this category is growing. And the buyers in this category are interested in what's going on, and really this is an education for them. So I still send them samples and keep their number, and hopefully in 6 or 8 months or however long, I can call them back and say we're ready.
Back. Yeah.
So
cool.
That's something we're really excited about.
That lends itself really well to the next question, which is, how many stores are you guys currently in?
We're in approximately 50 stores, and we are actually nationwide. We ship nationwide to stores. Primarily, they're small stores. They're small independent vegan stores, or smaller independent grocery stores. The larger stores tend to want to work directly with distributors, and we understand that. It's easier for them.
And we're launching in 6 new stores April 1st, Erewhon in Southern California. So that's a really big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're continuing to grow regardless of what's happening.
Yeah.
That follows into the parlay question, which is, where do you guys see that number in terms of stores being at the end of 2021? Do you have a target of how many stores you'd like to see yourselves in?
Yeah, we actually have a specific goal of, I think it was 78. When we sat down and did projections, a 5-year projection, we kind of figured out what we felt was doable, and it kind of grows exponentially from that.
So 2021 is 78 stores, and adding 6 more next month puts us really close to 60.
Right.
And then 2022 is 160 stores. And I know it sounds like a big jump, but when you start adding in distribution and being able to talk to, all of their buyers, it really isn't a big ask to be in 160 stores. And then we just kind of keep adding adding from there.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of the bigger stores will, you know, you might get a big jump at one point. Like Sprouts has 350 stores. Trader Joe's has 350 stores.
Whole Foods.
So and depending on if you do regionally or not, that could be different. So
Yeah.
Cool. How many total employees do you have, and how many do you think you'll add in the next year or two?
right now we have, if you include Stefan and I, we have 4 employees.
Oh my God.
We are pro. Yeah, we have a social media person, and we have
A delivery person.
a delivery person.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
we wear many hats. We are looking to, by the end of the year, I'm hoping to add at least 3 or 4 production assistants to really, that's where we need most of our help.
And this also ties into like the machinery. Like it's a big ask to ask somebody to hand fill, 300 cheeses in an hour and hand wash the 300 molds. And as we get our new equipment and it's a filler, or we have the dishwasher instead of doing all the dishes by hand because we don't have a dishwasher, we could start setting up systems where it's easier to bring in people without having somebody walk in and go, you want me to fill how many of these? And 3 hours later, we're still doing it. So part of that ties into like the expansion as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Talk to me a little bit about your cold chain logistics partners. Is this like a current limitation for you guys? Does your cheese have to stay cold as it's moving kind of through the supply chain to get to groceries?
Yeah.
And does that, impact your total addressable market as you guys think about expanding, or?
No, it's been a year and a half of work with different insulators and ice pack people, and we finally have it nailed down. And we use FedEx,
Yeah.
and we're actually getting very close to bumping into the next tier of the more you spend at FedEx, the better your rates, and we're getting close to that the next tier.
A lot.
And honestly, our direct to like wholesale where we ship, either we pay drop ship, either we pay a distributor or we pay FedEx. And honestly, the numbers pencil out to be
very good.
Pretty good. And we're going to continue to do our drop shipping no matter what, because these little stores in different areas may not work with US Foods or whoever is the big national distributor. So we're going to continue our FedEx route no matter what.
Awesome.
So it'll be 3-pronged: direct to customer, our drop shipping, and our distributors.
Yeah, and distributors will cold ship. That's very normal for them.
Cool. Switching entirely from logistics, because this is how the questions are coming in, so this is how they're going to get asked.
Great.
What media channels do you currently utilize to market your cheeses, and then are there any that you are thinking about expanding into?
We currently are on social media, on Instagram, or on Facebook.
We're going to start Pinterest as soon as we figure it out. And as soon as we have a little bit more time and Stefan doesn't pipe every single cheese, I think we're going to expand to doing more YouTube content with more recipes that are maybe a touch more long form and not the quick little Instagram stuff. So
yeah, we're on LinkedIn a little. I don't.
Yeah. A little.
Very little.
Have any other vegan cheesemakers come out with a brie?
Yeah.
There are some other bries.
Yeah.
Rind does a brie. Rebel Cheese just came out with a brie. The Uncreamery does a brie. There's some people who are doing brie. They call it brie, but they don't grow a rind, so I don't really count that personally.
Yeah.
But there are a handful.
Way to put it.
Yeah, and we used to kind of freak out a little bit about this, but we're at a grocery store in Los Angeles called Vegan Paradise.
Besties
Vegan Paradise, and they carry like all of the new vegan, like everything.
Yeah.
And our velocity in that store hasn't changed in over a year. And when they started bringing in more and more cheese, like Julie and I were kind of like, oh, we'll see how this goes. But literally, we're still the #1 seller, and we've been in the store for over a year now, and it really hasn't changed our sales at all, even though they have some wonderful cheeses. And one of them is a brie, but it's shaped in a pyramid, and
it's a little different.
It's a little bit different.
It's an ash.
And I think one of the big things that separates us from the other bries, and we've heard this from a few other stores, specifically Besties, is, our rind looks beautiful on every single cheese. And some of the other cheeses, maybe one looks good, maybe one looks okay, and some look bad. And I think it's our consistency that's really separated us from a lot of our other competitors. Is every brie looks the same.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, like, who do you guys think of as your direct competitors?
I think the other cheese companies we were just talking about, those are definitely, Rind and the Young Creamery and Rebel, and at the same time, like, Rebel is also a restaurant, so they buy our cheese too. So
yeah, they cook with it. They use our cheese.
Yeah, they use our cheese too.
They use a lot of our cheese.
So I mean, and Miyoko's is a huge. She's the biggest vegan cheese maker, and she's a competitor. And we used to freak out a lot when people would do cheese, but we've learned that there's we just embrace it and appreciate them for their hard work, and hopefully they feel the same.
I'm really hoping that we're literally like a step ahead in respect to like trying to get into the mainstream stores, and just a step ahead of like some of the other competitors, and like being able to scale up a little bit faster. And I'm really hoping that we could literally start beating them to the marketplace in a bigger sense.
Yeah, this seems like a good first step. So you're on your way there.
Yeah.
Have you guys turned down any retailers, and if so, why?
No.
We haven't turned any away, other than the fact that we just like with Trader Joe's, like we can't service them. We did talk to them about just doing regional, and but even that right now, like until we move into our new space, then we can't even do that, because
we're not big on the answer no. Like we want to sell cheese, so the answer is yes. Yeah.
The only reason we would say no is by the fact that we maybe missed an email, but we try to say yes and sell to anyone who wants to sell our cheese.
Yeah.
Cool. For maybe some of the newbies on the call who maybe aren't familiar with you, can you guys just give us a quick recap of what products you guys have available now?
Sure. So we have our classic cashew brie. We have our truffle cashew brie. We have our newest product, the black garlic cashew brie. And then we also have an artichoke spinach dip. And we have a ranch dressing, all completely dairy-free and vegan.
Perfect. And then speaking of that, I guess here's the next question. I think we kind of answered this, which is, do you have plans to expand the product line in the future?
Yeah, we do.
Is yes.
Yes.
So,
yes.
The follow-up there then is thoughts on a spicy flavored product.
Spicy.
Possibly.
Possibly. It's funny. We're both kind of wimps with spice, so we're probably not the perfect person to do that. We did do a really nice. We were calling it Gouda-ish. It was sort of a Gouda with a paprika, just a little smoked paprika. There's a little spice in there, but so
really good.
We're hoping to get that back eventually.
Cool. Few more here as they kind of continue to trickle in. Can you talk a little bit about, as you scale, will the cost of the products go up? How do you think about kind of like the cost of your cheeses as you guys continue to produce more and sell them in more places?
Well, I think that I don't know that the cost would go up. Um, we we feel like we right now we're at a place that it's a fair price for what the size you get. A lot of people who maybe have seen vegan cheeses, ours is on the larger size, um, and there's some reasons for that. But we feel like the price compared to our competitors is very good. The economies of scale may reduce it slightly, but the fact that we'd have to sell our cheese to distributors for less would probably keep it about the same
Yeah.
for retailers.
Cool.
So.
This is a more broad one. Can you talk about the evolution of the vegan food market and how you guys see yourselves playing into that movement?
Well, the evolution of the vegan food market has really just exploded in the last, I don't know, 3 to 5 years. It's gone from some pretty nasty cheeses and veggie burgers to some of the most gourmet and foods that are so similar to, real, not real, but to, non-vegan similar foods. It's indistinguishable. I think that the evolution is going to continue. I think that the technology behind foods, people understand it more. It's also just a lot more people are understanding that a plant-based diet is so much better for the planet and for your bodies that it's just much more widely accepted. So I think it will continue to grow and get better and better and better. And you're already seeing it. It's already becoming mainstream.
And I think to kind of tack on to that, I think that we're also going to see an embrace of products that have, I want to say not clean, but like identifiable kind of ingredients. Like our cheese is cashews, salt, water, black garlic for the ones with black garlic. And I think it's also nice to see like smaller companies making products that maybe aren't quite as engineered. And I think there's going to be a market for people looking for like products that have a simpler ingredient deck, essentially is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Cool. Two last ones kind of here that have just crawled through. So what are your sustainability plans in terms of shipping, packaging, or other? Have you guys thought, I mean, obviously the vegan piece is a big piece on sustainability. Yeah. What about those other pieces?
Yeah, so we currently are using a insulated liner that is recyclable 100%. You can just take the box and put it all in the recycle with the insulation. The ice packs are not recyclable. You can cut them, drain them, and put the plastic bit in the bin. But we worked really hard to find a recyclable product in that way, so we're pretty happy with that.
I think we're going to continue to work on that. One of the things that it's twofold. The minimums on buying the like say the liners, for example, is we have to buy 8 pallets of liners at a time. So you really start getting into a couple things. You have to have enough space to put 8 pallets of stuff, which is right on our threshold between the pallets of ice packs and the pallets of cashews. So then, all of a sudden you're talking 2 boxes, you're talking 20 pallets of things. So as we graduate to more space and capital, we could continue to grow, and we always want to improve our cold shipping, because it is a big part of what we do, both sides of the coin, environmentally and making sure it stays cold.
Yeah. Cool. Last one here, which maybe this is like a joint answer, but I'll let you guys take the first stab. Are cheese discounts available to SMBX investors?
Ooh, that's a good idea.
I hadn't thought of it.
Whoever
We're going to consult with Ben on that.
I was going to say the minimum investment is $10. So I feel like if you put $10 in, your returns or your rewards there are the interest you earn, and by investing you could use those returns to technically buy them.
We're gonna let Ben come up with a sliding scale, and we're gonna have Ben dictate the terms on this.
I like the idea, though. I think that we'll probably consider that.
Well, yeah.
A good idea.
TBD.
There you go.
We'll get you more info there. You were anonymous, so I don't know who asked that, but if you shoot myself or the Jules Food,
Oh, it's you, huh, Ben?
right, I'm just typing it in the corner. That's really what it is. Cool. Any other questions? That's it from the questions that we have so far. If you guys have anything else, feel free to throw it in the chat, throw it in the QA, speak now, or forever hold your peace, either about how SMBX works, anything else for Stefan and Jules.
Well, we just want to thank everybody who came to listen to our pitch. We're really appreciative of all of you to spend your time with us like this. And we also would really appreciate it if you would invest, because it's going to really help us achieve the goals, our personal goals and the goals for the vegan movement that we want to keep cheering on. So thank you so much.
Yay.
Awesome. I have two more questions that slid in here. The first is, what's the app again? So if you go to the iOS App Store, you can search SMBX and you will find our app, and then you open that, you can create an account and Jules Foods will be in there. Else, I'm going to put a link into the chat here. Yes, the app is only on iOS right now, but if you don't have an iOS phone, there's a link that I just threw into the chat that you can click and you can go access it from any web browser or on Safari or on Chrome, computer, phone, anything there. Just click that link or go to the smbx.com and then click in the top right hand corner. It says start investing, and then you'll find everything else. And then this one I think is for Max. If you could clarify, well, you guys answer and then I'll answer. Any plans for an affiliate program in the future?
We hadn't thought of a affiliate plan. We've been consider doing some ambassador work, which might be similar. But
yeah,
we consider it.
Yeah.
Somebody had asked the cost, how much the cost at the store.
How much does it cost to produce, and how much does it cost at the store?
So I don't really, the price of cashews varies, so it does change pretty regularly to produce that, because that's our main ingredient. It kind of changes. The store cost when you buy at retail, the different stores do charge different prices. Our MSRP for classic is $12.99, for truffle is $13.99, and for black garlic is $14.99. Black garlic is very, very time consuming and labor intensive to make.
Is it fair to state that like your prices at the stores are locked in enough so that the variability from the prices of cashews isn't going to affect how much it's sold at the store?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we just have to, we kind of factor that varying price in. Hopefully it doesn't change too much. If it did, we'd have to then reconsider what our wholesale price would be.
Yeah, cool. That's it. Max, to answer your question, SMBX does have an affiliate program, so if you have questions, reach out to me. I didn't know who you were referring to, but just in case. We got an ambassador program coming soon. Got a few other questions sneaking in here at the end. Ooh, good one coming here. What do you see as the biggest risk factor in being successful?
Biggest risk factor.
I don't know. I don't know.
Fair.
Really caught me off guard with that question.
I know, right? The hard ones come at the end.
That is a really good question. The risk factor in being successful. I don't know. Stefan might get a little uppity.
You know, honestly, I feel like we're so grounded in the mission of what we want to accomplish, and this is more than Julie and I, right? So I don't know. Like, I think if we were wildly successful, we would continue to push the movement, and we would just transfer the success or whatever level the company has achieved into pushing that movement. It's not about Julie and Stefan. It's about all the things that we're trying to impact with making a non-dairy cheese.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely we want this to be a company that is more of a company of people, and we've talked about creating an employee-owned company once we have more employees.
It is owned.
But that's something we really want to keep it very real and very you know, close to the people who are working in this in our company. So it doesn't answer your question. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
I would say the biggest risk might be, well, I don't know if this is a risk, but filling the offering, right? It's like you guys need the capital to go and grow. And that might be, we'll get there. I'm very confident of that. But it seems like from everything you guys have described, people want this thing. You just got to go out and produce more.
Yep. That's it.
Cool.
Yeah.
This one is for me, which I don't like, Travis, but I'll ask. I mean, I do like it, but so what happens if SMBX is acquired or goes under? Which is a really good question. So it's a little hard to answer. I'll break it up into two pieces. If SMBX is acquired, there's a whole host of reasons why we might be acquired, but all of the payments and all of the infrastructure that supports the payments from Jule's Foods to investors would transition to that acquiring company. We would make a plan, and we would continue to facilitate that. Now, there might be a situation where we move your assets and they are stored in like a different account. So take, for an example, if like Charles Schwab or somebody like decided to acquire SMBX, maybe at some point your SMBX account would convert into a Charles Schwab account, but those payments would still facilitate right through the system that we'd build. If SMBX goes under, which won't happen, but if it were to happen, because there's always a chance it could happen, we would do something similar. So we would put together a plan to transition these securities that are registered with the SEC to someone else who could support that, whether that's a bank, another financial platform, another Reg CF platform, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That said, I do want to, like, SMBX is venture backed. We have funding, and I would not expect us to go out of business anytime soon. Mostly thanks to the amazing people like Jules and Stefan who allow us to work with them and help them raise capital.
Leave it to Travis to give the hard question. There you
Right.
go.
Right at the end, too.
Any other questions? Let me know. Throw them in the chat. Else, we'll let you all get on your Thursday. We've got about 5 minutes left here. And thank you all for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully you learned something. And sliding in here one more. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. I like that. Thank you. And we'll give it like 30 seconds in case we got some slow typers. And then we'll close it out.
Yay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna type in that stewardship structure.
Oh, coming in. Thank you. Love your cheese.
Oh, thanks, you guys.
Aw.
You hear that?
And thanks for the folks who are on here who have contributed already. I recognize a few names and really appreciate it. I want to just say that again. Thank you. Thank you.
Cool. And then we have a note from Mark Smith, which says, check out a stewardship structure.
I just put it in my phone.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I need to make sure you got that.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, if that's it, I'm going to hang up on you all and go from there. It's been a pleasure. Love you all, and I will talk to you soon.
Thanks, Ben.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.